We have 10 minutes for comments and questions. If you could identify your name and where you're from, and if you have a specific reference to any of the speakers, you can do so. Yes.
But no question. No question, but just a fabulous presentation, and everybody should come immediately from Bonn, go get on a plane, come to Canada, go right across the country. Each of you do the same thing, and we'll be very happy.
Thank you, but that's the way forward. Any other comments? Questions? You were fascinated by the show. Yes, please.
I live in Canada and I work with Bud in this. We can't stop talking Canadians. I'm interested in how you're finding students now and how they feel about the global situation, because our students, you're talking about the discourse now, you want to not have faculties and not have, which is very interesting, and that's where a lot of our students are at, even though we have faculties. They're asking the big questions. And we're behind the times. I mean, I've got kids who are student age. The most inspiring thing I saw last week on television was a new documentary called Money, Power, and Wall Street. And it was on Frontline, PBS, in the United States. And it's these students are taking on Wall Street, but they are very, very bright students, and ex-Wall Street employees, actually, some of them. And I'm just interested look at where each day we're hearing more and more, especially being here in Europe, Spanish banks and British, et cetera. What are your students, what are you finding in Holland and Germany and particularly in Britain? What are the students, how are they pushing the universities to change? Because I think that's big picture, is the students will change because they're the clients, so-called. They're the ones paying the bill, especially in Canada where we pay more and more for education. And it's a huge, you saw the Quebec protests, students are protesting quite loud on principle, and they're saying this isn't because we have, they're pointing to Europe. They're saying Europeans don't have to pay for education. It should be a social right. So I'm just interested in how you're feeling the mood, and I'm hoping that these initiatives like Living Knowledge Network really support student voices and innovation and the big picture. I agree with regional stuff. We do regional stuff. We do a lot of that. But it's really important that we engage in and really support the students for change. So how are you finding the sentiment among students in your universities about the global picture?
Thank you for asking a question. I looked a bit quiet out there, so thank you. Even if it's Canadians are talkative, I'm still very grateful. There are lots of ways to answer that question. So I think I'll just refer to two things. So with me today is a colleague, David Owen. Some of you already met him. He worked on a project. We were very generously awarded a lot of money to do a project looking at student engagement and the role of students in affecting change, because we all know that certainly, it must be true in other countries, but in Britain, if the students say it, the Vice-Chancellor listens, because increasingly our students pay more money for their education, they listen even harder. And so the students obviously have a huge amount of power, and we are very keen to support them as agents of change within their institution. The V-inspired student project that David was a part of commissioned a research project looking at some of the things that students valued and what motivated them around volunteering. And I'm going to get all the stats wrong, and then David will correct me later. But basically, it was a very substantive research study that, not surprisingly, revealed that a huge number of students were really motivated to volunteer, very, very high on their agenda. And their main reason, not surprisingly, because they want to make a difference. And I think that for me, what's exciting about that is that the engagement agenda that we're trying to promote within the UK is a real way of realising the potential of the student body to really affect change in society, as you were describing, can make such a big difference with all those players working in cooperative ways together. And if they start as students, then they go on with that set of values and that set of vision that change can happen when all these groups play together well. The other thing I'd say is just the demographic of students is changing. So, the models of 18-year-olds coming out to university in the UK, it's much more part-time students, there's much more mature students. And therefore, the opportunity for people to straddle the community and the university and bring those different voices together becomes more rich within that environment.
Maybe just to add one point, a short point, and probably a very basic point. Our experience is we just have to take them serious. I think there are still lots and lots of universities and other educational institutions outside which don't take them serious at the beginning, because they say they are young, they are unexperienced, they are idealistic, but the world is different, stuff like that. But if you take them serious, and if you show them that they make a difference, and you have certain structures where basically when they give, you give as well, then you can make a lot out of that.
I live in another world. I have to think about this. We are listening too much to students, I would say. Not the professors, but the management of the university. So we're doing a lot of nonsense in universities, and especially in universities of applied science. We are building programs for them, not for society. So we please them, and when they're 30, they tell me, you pleased me. You should learn me something. What I'm looking at is what students ask me is they need more professional information, so they need another management structure, so they want their professors to have more time for them. So that's something different. But I'm working a lot with students of universities of applied science, so they are very practical. And in the mix of these students, this is the main complaint I hear.
I know that there's a question over there.
So thank you very much for these interesting. Okay, I would have two questions to Mr. Göbel. The first would be, you said that you had 200 inquiries, and then you answered to 40. So I imagine you have some criteria how you choose which project to run and which not. And of course, on the one side, there will be the competencies. Are you competent to respond to the question? But I imagine there is a second one. It's more on an ethical somehow approach. Does the project really correspond to what the university tries to change in society? So I wanted just to know how you react to questions where you say maybe, okay, no, this is really not where we would like to go because it's not sustainable, or whatever. I don't know what are your criteria. And the second question would be, how do public universities in Germany react to the Zeppelin University? How far you are in contact with them?
Thank you for your two questions. They are not too easy to answer, both. The first one, I clearly have to say, we are developing such a policy, but basically within the process, but we didn't have it from the start on. We had such a case. We had an inquiry of an online game supplier. And we discussed, it was really hard to decide whether we do it or whether we don't do it, because you know all the things that can happen if you do too many online games. So basically, but that's something within the process, but our goal is to have developed such a policy at one point, right? But now it's basically just, you talk a lot in a group, and in the end you think you have a good answer, and that's whether it is yes or no, right? Bottom down, I would say, it's the criteria probably is also, do you find people to do it, right? But if you have students and also faculty just said it's not interesting, then we don't do it, right? The second question, I could probably talk 1 hour about it. I don't want to do that now. It's very complicated system, and the higher education system in Germany is transforming very fast right now. We have lots of partnerships. We do projects together. The Salem project with the University in Stuttgart. We have intensive connections to University of Constance. But I think, as it always is, if you are a new player in the field, and if you are maybe also a little bit faster than some others, there are people who like you and there are people who don't like you. And but it's okay. I think that's okay. That's part of the game.
One final question. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Namrata. I'm from Priya, India. I really like the presentations, but something which is not really troubling me, but I was very keen to get the sense that are we saying that the universities and students are competent to solve citizens' problem on their own? Because it again gives the university an expert component, and that you have communities and citizens raising problems, and then you are solving it. So that's a bit of a discomforting kind of a thing for me. And that is to do with, Mr. Gobel, your presentation precisely. So I was just very concerned that, and then, then the university decides this is not a problem we are interested in handling. So that again raises a bit of an ethical dilemma for me. So it becomes more as if the whole thing is being driven from the university and the students' side. So what would be your reaction to that? Thank you.
One last burning question.
Hello, I'm Howard Rosing from DePaul University in Chicago. Of course, we have no queen in the US, but we have a really large aristocracy. And what they've told us is that we will pay for most of our higher education, which leaves students, many of them, in about $90,000 to $100,000 in debt when they leave. My question, I have actually two questions, but I'll leave it at one. My question is, how do you get students interested in public engagement and community engagement when in the reality is in the context of an increasingly privatized educational world across Europe? I see that as well. And no offense to the private institution, I work for a private institution. How do you get students engaged in thinking about critical society issues when the reality is they have to go make a paycheck to pay back their loans for school?
Okay, I have to start. So maybe coming to you, I can really understand that feeling, and we discuss a lot about that. I think the important point is that if we say we cannot do a project, it's because we don't feel we have the expertise, or we don't feel we are the right partner. And I think that's fair. I think it's fairer than if you just do everything and in the end, it's not a good project. But I would always say it's not so much, or it should not so much be an expert status. It should more be really a co-creating model, and that we are a partner, very often one of many partners in such a project, who has certain competencies, who has certain energy and manpower in the end to do such projects. But I would never say, because we have those discussions a lot at the moment, I would never say the universal problem-solving thing are now the universities. Let's university or other education institutions solve society problems, and we are all happy, right? That wouldn't work. I'm for sure. But it's still something I think we have to work on, and it's for us it's in the process how exactly to define what you say.
I think the idea of shared ownership, and I love the new word here, transpowerment, rather than empowerment, because we keep talking about the university empowering the community. I think it's transpowerment. I think that's the mindset. Once we can change our mindset, I think we are all right.
And I agree. I think that the challenge, certainly within the UK, is that the mindset of the university is still that they are the owners of the right kind of knowledge, and that there are lots of power issues around that the universities aren't self-aware of. So they don't understand that. They think that by talking to the community, that is enough, rather than thinking about valuing other forms of knowledge and how that knowledge is generated or explored or shared. And so I think the reason I love what I do is because we're trying to get universities to rethink about that, so that when they enter into partnerships, it's not that they are leading the agenda, but they're listening and responding and engaging in meaningful ways as part of being a solution to a problem. And the gentleman at the back, I can't see you anymore. Have you left? I was hoping you had. No. I mean, a really, really tough question, and one that we in the UK are going to be facing more and more. A 3-year degree program at Zelia Russell, a research-intensive university, will be setting our students back around £27,000 of debt to do that. And I think that my answer to that is we need to rethink the way we're encouraging students to learn. And I am, not surprisingly, completely convinced that a community-engaged learning experience is better than one that is divorced from that. So I think that by integrating a community-engaged approach where the values that we've talked about working in partnership, rather than the students swoop in, usually make a mess, and come back thinking they've done a good job. But actually this partnership kind of working of coming together to jointly problem solve and to share the different expertise that different groups have is actually a critical part of that education. And what I would say is that if you experience an education like that, not only you fit better for employment in the future, so you were talking about different kinds of learning and different kinds of skills that you need, so you're better fit to get good jobs in the future, but also having participated in that, then actually that is transformative on you as it is. So we talk a lot about community engagement as if the impact is on the community. But actually, for many students, the impact is on them in terms of their own learning and their own understanding and the things they take with them into their high-paid jobs when they can help fund more and more of really effective community engagement work. Please don't say that's naive.
No, Princess. When it happened in the workplace, I would say you come back at 3 o'clock, you didn't listen enough. So then you can see that this is not a good community to learn, because asking this question is answering the same question, of course. This is what you're asking is, your point is the university solving this? Of course not. How can you ask this question? It should be a partner in this. The interesting thing of students is they ask questions, asking, and they are in our other paradigms. So this is the interesting thing of students. But we have to do this together, transpowerment. And you, I will see you at 3 o'clock. This social thing, I have to do this. This is new. What we're doing now is we're building a new society, long life learning. So we need professionals in this community involvement. This community involvement thing will be a professional thing. So don't be a professional from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock and then after this become an idiot. But stay a professional 24 hours a day. And then you will see this community involvement that is a new economy. So when you're staying to see this as a social thing, this is wrong. So I see you at 3 o'clock, okay?